Hi guys, welcome. Today we are talking about tips, practical tips for Hyrox. Today I'm not going to be bringing you tips about how to push or pull a sled or how to do a burpee or how to throw a wall ball with precision or any of that training stuff. There's so many videos online about that. Today I'm bringing you practical tips about the event, what to expect on race day, some of the most asked questions of all time, as well as a bunch of more up-to-date advice surrounding how you enter. I am a firm believer that experience is where the best advice comes from, and that's true in driving and work and relationships, a lot in life in fact. So having done 7 of these, going into my 8th with my 9th and 10th booked, I feel that I have a broad spectrum of experience that I can allow myself finally to give you guys some tips. Getting signed up, right? This seems really straightforward, yet so many people fall foul of not being able to get signed up, and that's because things have changed. Like I mentioned, 2 years ago I got signed up 3 weeks before the event, no problem. Today I have to be poised on the day that the tickets go on sale to buy those immediately. 'Cause I got a golden ticket, I got a golden chance to make my way. The demand has outstripped the supply. There are not enough tickets for everyone to have a go. And this creates a Glastonbury ticket frenzy when they go on sale. So the tip really is to know when the tickets go on sale. And the best ways to do this is to keep an eye on the website and the mail notifications that you get, but more specifically the Facebook groups. These guys know when the tickets are going on sale, and there's lots of noise on these Facebook groups. So the Facebook group and the Facebook community page are the two that I frequent, and on these pages they know when the tickets are going on sale. Keep your eye on those. There's no point waiting 24 hours or thinking about it. The second you leave it 24 hours, the popular categories will sell out almost immediately. We're talking hours now, not days. So if you want to be in the men's open or the women's open or the doubles, these sell out quickly. The pro divisions sell out last, but less people do those. So if you really want to take part in Hyrox, make sure you are at a computer or on your phone ready to buy those tickets in the hours after they go on sale. They normally go on sale about 6 in the evening, some random weekday night, but it will be announced. So just be there. If you can't get to a computer or a phone, then get someone to do it on your behalf. Wave times. Now this is a funny one because it has adjusted slightly over time. Don't assume anything when you sign up. You do not get to choose your wave time. How it works is a couple of weeks before the event, yes, a couple of weeks, you will be sent a graphic that says roughly the provisional times, and it will just say the men's open goes between this time and this time, and the ladies will go this time and this time. It's very vague. More often than not, it ends up being that way, but just take that with a pinch of salt. Now, that particular bracket on that wave time can sometimes be really large, certainly in the men's and women's opens. Historically, this has been ordered by ability, so the fast people go off first, and then it's loosely ordered by surname, alphabetically after that. One little caveat to that is if you sign up, if you pay extra to go with your friend, then what you may end up doing, regardless of your surname or ability, you'll be put to the very last couple of waves. So if you want to know roughly where you are in the pack, that's loose guidance, but it's not concrete. It's different every time. And you won't know 100% where you place, where you sort of start on the start line, your start wave. You won't 100% know that until maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days before. Normally the Wednesdays when they announce it. Sometimes it's been as early as Monday, and the sort of wave times are available on the website. Yeah, it can make organising your day and travel and accommodation a bit tricky, so just bear that in mind, okay? Getting there. Getting to these places can be a little bit tricky sometimes. A lot of people like to drive. The problem with this is that you are having to get into sort of really busy areas. More often than not, there is ample parking provided by arena that you are going to. So for example, the NEC in Birmingham, the Convention Centre in Manchester, the Excel in London, they all have a huge amount of on-site parking, sometimes underneath, sometimes sort of off-site. But there is a cost involved, and it's somewhere between sort of £14 and £25. And if you're okay with that additional cost, then go, because they are the most convenient places to park in terms of walking to and from the arena. So obviously, if money is a concern, then you can park off-site or get public transport in and do it that way. Clothing. Now this one gets asked quite a lot, and again, it comes down to sort of your choice, dealer's choice, as I call it. The obvious answer is gym wear, right? Sort of stuff you wear at the gym when you train. That's the stuff that would make most sense in a sort of a Hyrox arena. Now, Hyrox, a little bit like CrossFit events, has now got a bit of a reputation for sort of shirtless men and sort of crop tops for women. And while that's all well and good, and that is, again, those people's choice, it's not necessarily what everyone has to sort of conform to. Now, my advice is to wear what you are comfortable in. Wear what you wear in the gym and what you know to work in your training. You don't want to wear anything that you've never worn before, because you don't want something to chafe or to absorb sweat weird or smell. So just choose something that you like the look of, you know works for you. Personally, I do take my shirt off, and that's for some practical reasons. One, I think that running around in a sweaty vest is horrible. I don't like it touching me. I don't like how it feels. It's additional weight, and you dry better when it's just skin. I also train very hard, and I like the pictures that they take. So being able to flex a little bit as I go around is cool. But yes, dealer's choice, that's my tip for this one. Food and drink. Now, people obsess about this, and probably for good reason. There's lots of things people obsess about with Hyrox, but food and drink is quite an easy one to address. You don't need to vastly change what you eat and drink leading up to an event. There's some just real basic guidance, and it isn't set in stone. You don't have to do this. Ultimately, don't adjust what you eat vastly before an event. You're asking for a bellyache or sitting on the toilet for too long if you start messing around with what you normally do. The general advice, and I've got this from a nutritionist, is eat slightly elevated carbs 2 days, not 1 day, 2 days before. That allows you to have absorbed everything and passed it through without too much bother. It also gives you time to adjust if something isn't right, and it allows your body to have all that energy stored up inside of it before the event. Now, with regards to drinking additional water leading up to the events, just being well hydrated is key. But on the day itself, you haven't got to drink gallons and gallons of water. It's simply maybe a pint out of, like, when you first get up, and then sip an electrolyte drink leading up to the event. It should be sufficient for your hydration without needing to take a piss every 2 seconds. I've seen people have to run off the course to take a piss mid-race, and it is just decimating for your time. So just bear that in mind. You don't need to make some huge change to improve your performance, okay? Tip 5. On the day, some of the exercises can feel heavier than expected. Now, this is an area of contention, and it comes up after every single race. Specifically the sleds, okay? The push and the pull, they both feel loads harder than they do in training. And that varies depending on what you have in your training environment. If you have a very similar setup to what Hyrox has, chances are you're not going to notice much of a difference. If you've got AstroTurf that glides really well, like I do at my gym, I've loaded my sled up to the competition weight and trained that extensively only to get to the event, go to push it, and it doesn't move. So you then have to expel a lot more energy on the day trying to figure that out. Obviously, when you're on race day, you are burning energy fast, you are going harder than you would normally, so that sensation of something feeling heavier is compounded by the additional effort of race day, okay? So that all the advice generally would be just prepare for that. Don't worry about it, just prepare for it. Load your sled up a little bit heavier in training, do a few extra runs, factor it in, include it, don't ignore it. My first go in Hyrox Manchester 22, that was the thing that I took away, and I continue to take away, even though I know about it, I continue to take away from every event. Other things can feel harder, but that's generally as a result of that extra stress of race day. You're just going that little bit faster, so things feel more difficult. What trainers to wear? This is one of the most asked Hyrox questions of all time. What trainers, what trainers, what trainers? Again, like with clothing, it is your choice. And it's ultimately what trainers to wear is a bit of a dumb question, because one trainer that works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. So don't blindly take advice as to what shoe to wear. There are recommendations, but don't take it as concrete as that's it. Any shoe ultimately could get you round a Hyrox event. What you are looking for is an efficient running shoe that has okay grip. You don't need the lugs of say a trail shoe. A regular running shoe with normal grip should suffice. Try to avoid shoes that are slick underneath. There are road running shoes that are really smooth on the bottom for running efficiency. Try to avoid those. And the last thing is stability. Sort of in the lunges, you need something that's just a little bit stable, or you'll wobble a little bit. Now, my personal best in Hyrox still comes from a really simple shoe, a flat running shoe without any carbon, without any foam. And I have experimented with Puma Deviates and Saucony Endorphin Pros, and still my PB stands in those simple shoes. So don't get too wrapped up with this decision. Choose a set of shoes you're good at running at, have a little bit of grip, and are stable enough to do lunges. If they do all of those things and they are comfy and you are happy with them, take them. Obviously, choose the ones that are your favourite colour. Facilities on the day. Okay, this is super simple. Don't assume you are going to have loads of facilities. Don't assume anything. Assume that there will be toilets there and that's it. Some places are better furnished than others. The arenas are different from place to place. So toilets are the only assumption that you can make. There's rarely any showering facilities. There's rarely a place to clean up. If you can't get cleaned up in a sink, then chances are it's not going to happen. Just take additional clothes, a towel and some BO Basher, and just get cleaned up that way. Most people are fine with that. Athletes are okay being stinky for a short period of time. So yes, what are the facilities? We're talking eateries and drinking places. Now, it is my experience that Hyrox don't bring a lot of that with them. Sure, they've got the cans of Red Bull and all of that stuff for the athletes, but there's not a huge amount for the people that are just mulling around, the spectators or the athletes that are waiting to go or have been. There's not always loads of places to buy food. There's sometimes the odd coffee shop, there's sometimes the odd sort of newsagents, but there's never an abundance of food and drink places, and you end up sort of foraging around. So my advice on this particular one is take everything with you that you need, your additional clothes, the stuff to get clean, the sort of wipes and the sprays to make you, and the food and the drink. If you take all of that, put it all into a sort of a big backpack like a Built for Athletes one or something like that, then you can't go wrong. Okay, and you're not left scratching around looking for stuff on the day in the venue. Tip 2, when to get there. Now, I've got sort of conflicting advice has been given to me on this one. The advice that I'm given by people who are being coached is not to arrive too much before your wave, right? And this is from a performance perspective, as to not have your adrenaline spike before your race. You want that when you're actually in your race itself. The problem is, that means getting there last minute in my mind, and that sets off my anxiety about missing my start time incredibly. Now, it's my experience that you can get delayed getting to these places if you are not careful, and I've witnessed people who have ran late. Okay, I've had to let people into the queue before now because they have left it too late. So the places where you sort of get bogged down, getting into the car park, this can be a queue. Certainly was at Birmingham, and there was, add another half an hour onto your time. There was then a walk from the car to the arena, again, probably another 20 minutes. We arrive at the arena and there is a registration queue like an Alton Towers ride on a bank holiday. It is long and it's not particularly fast to get through. So you could spend anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes in this queue. You get your band across the running track to get into the arena. So you get into the arena and then you have to allow time for the backdrop. There's often a queue as long as you're on for that as well. So you could be potentially a couple of hours from driving into the venue to being ready to go. And that's long before you've spent any time in the warm-up area and prepping and doing any of that stuff. So just I could not imagine getting there that close to my start time. I always have to ensure that I leave ample time, else I would go insane. So yeah, just bear that in mind. There are delays at most Hyroxes these days. Tip 1, the last one. This is enjoy yourself. And this is a really important one. Enjoy the sport that you are taking part in. Hyrox is an amazing experience. Being out on the arena with all those other athletes, it just feels really good. If you are finding it difficult on the day, just ease off. Allow yourself to be supported by those around you, people that you brought with you, the people that are just in the crowd, the marshals, the referees are all there to big you up and get you to the finish line. 99% of people that take part in a Hyrox finish it. That is an amazing statistic. It feels really hard when you're in that moment, but it's not a huge amount of time and it will be over before you know it. Most people finish between an hour and 2 hours, and that's it. You can go home, you can have something nice to eat and just feel great about yourself for the rest of the day, the rest of the week. Yeah, so that's my final piece of advice. Really take something away. And if you remember, when you get to the sort of last finishing platform where everyone's dying around, turn around, look backwards. You're more often than not looking at the wall balls still going and the sort of grandstand with all the people sat on it, but just take 2 seconds to turn around and look backwards. I always do this. I always make a point of doing this. Just absorb it for a second, just take a mental picture. And it's something that will stay with you. All right, that is my last tip. Okay guys, I do hope that those are really useful to you. These are tips that I have collated myself. I have not simply copied people. These are things that I have learned by doing. Like I mentioned at the beginning, experience is what creates wisdom on a subject. Being exposed to this kind of sport over multiple years in all the different venues, in all the different categories that I have taken part in, it just allows me to create a well-rounded set of advice for people that are considering doing it. Obviously this advice is probably more geared up towards the first timer rather than the seasoned pro, as those guys would have already figured all of this out a long time ago. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Please give the channel a subscribe and I will see you soon. Mart out.